For today, we're going to talk about value. I want you to grab your pencil, or you can have a colored pencil. Doesn't matter. Value. I want you to do who has first heard about value scales or know what I'm talking about when I say value. You can put it in the chat, or you can unmute and say, isn't it this? Or thumbs up. There you go, Jordan. Lillian, these people that are thumbs up, I can figure that you do based on what you've already submitted for class. We have some talented people in Art 1. Okay, so for value, it's basically how dark or light something is. And a value scale goes from dark to light. So what I want you to do first, I want to take your pencil, and we're going to do hatching lines really quick, just really quick. Okay. Hatching lines. What's hatching lines? Do you know? Lines that are straight. I'm not going to say straight up and down. Lines that are parallel to each other. That's it. Like, they can be diagonal. They could be straight up and down. They could be horizontal. They just don't cross. They're parallel. So if I say hatching lines, I want you to press really hard and put these lines really close together. So that's my hatching lines. Like that. So we're going to do that one. And then now I want you to press a little less hard and spread them out just a little bit more. You make like, I don't know, 10 or 15 lines. See mine? Now the same thing. Keep going. I want you to do 4 sets of these so I can see 4 different values, a dark, and you're going to go lighter. Okay, so ease up your pressure and also try and spread them out more. These are my 4, like this section. I'm just doing this so you guys can see it. Oh, that screen looks horrible. It looks blue. Okay, so these are values. So I have a dark one. I have a somewhat dark, then it's getting lighter. It's light. Okay, so these are different values. When I say value, I mean going from dark to light, light to dark, vice versa. Okay, now value can be created through lines, descriptive lines. They can be like this. I only did hatching. There's also a thing called cross hatching. You can do that too. The harder you press and the closer the lines are together, the darker the value. The lighter you press and the further the lines are, the lighter the value. Does that make sense? Yes, it should. Okay. You can do hatching. You can do cross hatching. I can even do scribbles to show value. Scribbles. See how I can show different value with that? It doesn't, most of you guys have done value and you do it like this and you call it shading. It's not shading. Shading is a process. Creating value is something you do when you're drawing. Shading is an action. Value is a concept or principle. So when you guys are doing this, you are shading it. Yes, you are. It's an action that you're doing. but most people think of shading as doing this, blending it in. Some of you might even use a blending stump. I don't know where mine went. Oh, here it is. A blending stump, something like this, or one that's rolled. If you guys picked up the packet, you have one that's rolled. So you can do, it blends it in. I can't stand the way it looks when it's blended in. It just looks smudgy and weird. So usually I go back over it if it's too bad. But what I want you guys to do, this is value, different values. You can do them with any kind of mark or the way you hold your pencil, shading it. That's an action. Shading is an action. It's not a concept. This is value. That's a concept. Shading is doing the action. Like this is shading. This isn't shading. This is drawing lines. But with all these, they show value, meaning different lights or darks. So what I want you guys to do is to look at things that you're drawing and try and figure out if you can get the value of something down. So for me, today, I'm going to draw this right here. I have a strong light source. I can see that. Here, let me move my thing so you guys can see it. Okay, so I can see that right here is super dark. So I'm going to want it to be like one of those dark parts like I have of my first marks. Then I have this is in the light. I'm going to want those to be, but it's also brown. So it's still like the color kind of messes you up a little bit with value. Just because something is a certain color doesn't mean that it's dark, because this right here, this green right here is dark. It's in the shadow, but then this green right here is light and it's in the light. So it's lighter green. But this color is the same color here. You just can't tell because it's in the shadow. There's no light. Painting professor told me without light, there is no color, because light is a spectrum of color. If you don't have light, say at night, when you turn off all the lights in your house, do you see any color? You probably wouldn't, especially if you live in the country. It's very dark. If it's dark, you can't see any color. Just because you know a plant is green doesn't make it green. It's depending on what light is hitting it at the time. Okay. So with this, whatever's in the shadow, you're going to make it dark. Whatever's in the light, you're going to make it lighter. Think about that value scale you just did with your lines. So when I first have something, what I do is I sketch it out first, so I get the gist of the object by sketching it out. I'm never very good with ellipses when I start. Then there's this crazy beehive or hornet's nest here in the front. We have this little plant, and it goes here, here, and here, here, and here. Okay, so look, this is my little sketch here that I have. People are probably like, what? That doesn't even look like that. As you add value, your sketch or your drawing will come to life. If you are struggling and thinking that, oh, my drawings are bad, they don't look 3D, it's because you don't have enough value in there. So what I do is I don't focus on, oh my gosh, I've got to draw a hornet's nest, or oh my gosh, I've got to draw a plant or a person. I'm looking at those shapes. Okay, this shape looks rounded, or this part looks rounded. This value right here looks like it is like a triangle shape. So take out the values that you see and break them into shapes. So with me, also, you have to kind of think of texture. The dirt in this pot is a texture. So with which kind of one would look best with dirt? Because it's all a whole bunch of different. For me, I would go with the squiggles because that's the thing that looks most like the dirt in the pot. So since I have that, I'm going to go around and do my squiggles. And then when it gets closer to the light, I'm going to lighten up on my grip and make it lighter. But then at some certain parts, it might be a little bit darker. And then when it goes in the shadow, it's dark again. I did my dirt in my pot. Do you see how that shows the value? There's different values. Now, with my pot, like the actual thing it's sitting in, it's smooth and curved. So my lines are going to go like this to show value. There's a shadow here. It's not so much shadow here. There's a shadow towards the back. There's a shadow after the lip of it here. There's a shadow here. And again, I'm going really fast just for. And if you need to, hold it like this so you can get more of it. See how the line work is different from the pot to the dirt? I look at it based on what it looks like. Does it look smooth? If it looks smooth, you kind of have straighter lines, or you do the blending like you do here. Does it look squiggly and crazy with a lot of texture? I do it scribbly. Does it look like it's something that's up and down? I would do hatch lines. Does it look like something that's like really rough, kind of like burlap, or like a tree bark? I would do cross hatching with it. So my plant looks really smooth, and you guys can be drawing your stuff as well. Just listen to me. It's fine. As you draw, the leaves on my plant are smooth. It's a succulent. It's super smooth. So I'm going to do blending with that, like a actual blending of the values. So it's going to be a smooth transition. Again, these are super fast. I'm doing it fast because of the time that we have. But if you see, my plant like has leaves and it goes off like this. So if you see these different types of lines with values, you kind of want to mimic that. You see how my line goes this way and then this way? Feel like how the plant is going, or since you're going to use these with your nature drawing, find the direction of how you have it and how your object is. I had a student last class ask me about, oh, how do I draw a clear cylinder, like a glass? Here's mine. I have a glass. If it's something glass, this isn't much of a glass. It's opaque. You can't see through it. But here, oh, yes, baby jars. If you have something like this, and you're trying to draw it, basically what you want to do is take out those shapes. See, look at this shape. This looks kind of like a half moon shape, right? This looks like a half moon shape. I would draw that half moon shape and try and match the value with my pencil. The way it looks like it's clear is you're going to keep some of the white of the paper. So with mine, the darker it is, whatever you see this right here, this is a dark value. So you would make it, I'm trying to draw on the screen and not look. So it would be something like this. And then you wouldn't, see if you can see it right there, you wouldn't be coloring in or shading in everything. If it's super white, your lightest light will be the white of the paper. That's how you make things look like they're glass or see-through, by taking out those shapes and matching the values. Not by going, oh, I can draw a glass jar. No, you have to be able to take out the values. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but I didn't even draw the sides of the jar. I would, like this, if I see that value. If there's no value and it's the white of the paper, I don't draw that. Direct observation is all about drawing what you see and not, oh, I know that's a face, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It doesn't matter. You have to pick out the shapes and match the values. Really test against, oh, this value is darker than this value. You see the edge of this jar? It's darker here than it is here. This is the darkest dark right here on this side and on this edge right there. Then this is a little bit lighter. This is dark too. This is lighter. These are the highlights. Boom, 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 boom. Those are the light of the paper. This would be just a little bit darker. Okay. So if you have to overall shade something, the activity of shading, do so. All right. I want you to practice with this. My next question. Can you show value? It doesn't matter where you put it on the paper. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Just that you're practicing with it. One other question. I said monochromatic. It's not just black and white, right? Oh. If we have something and it's monochromatic, is this monochromatic? Here's my question. Is this monochromatic? Thumbs up. No. Yes, it is monochromatic. Would this be considered monochromatic? Yes. They're all what? What are these all? Green. Yes, they're all green, but they're all different values of green. I don't know if you guys can tell, but it goes this way. This is lighter than this. This is kind of like a mid. Then this is a dark green. So light, mid, and dark. So with your nature drawing next week, the prompts will have you do monochromatic, full value drawings. So for one, you're going to use your graphite, and another you're going to use colors. So if you have, if you use your chalk, you can do that. If you use colored pencil, you can do that. Make sure all of the colors, like the color that you use, they're all green. They can have different values of green. These are different values of green, but they can't be, you can't have yellow, because yellow and green are two separate colors. Does that make sense? So these, okay, good. I'm glad I'm getting some clarification. Yes, it makes sense. So for these next nature journals for next week, you're going to be doing monochromatic, one with graphite. So one is black and white and one that's a color. So you can remember that monochromatic isn't just black and white. It's black and white, or it could be a color, but it's one color. Mono, one, chroma, color. Monochromatic, one color. These, I just want you to practice getting value down before you actually have to do it in your nature journaling book. So practice with it, breaking down that object, and stop going, I can't draw a jar. I can't draw a plant. I can't draw a tree. Break those big objects down into smaller shapes and values. The value part is where you're going to get it to look like it's an actual plant, tree, bush, whatever. Practice before you have to do it next week. I'm not checking these. I'm not asking you to hand them in. Practice before you do them in your visual journal or your nature journal book. If you have no questions for me, you are free to leave. Make sure you hand in your What is Artworks. Have a great weekend, guys.